Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are unpacking an investigation that is going to take us right to the jagged edge of our understanding of reality. We're looking at a place that perfectly bridges ancient paranormal lore and rigorous modern scientific data. So grab your notebooks because we are stripping away the rumors to look at the documented history and the absolute wildly incredible eyewitness accounts from what is arguably the most mysterious piece of real estate on the planet, Skinwalker Ranch. All right, let's dive right in with an event that honestly sounds like it was pulled straight from a Stephen King novel, but was actually a fully documented, completely visceral experience for the Gorman family. To really understand this mystery, we kind of need to look at it through a series of concentric circles, starting right at the very center. Imagine moving to your beautiful new dream ranch, only to have your very first day absolutely shatter everything you thought you knew about biology and physics. Section 1. The Bulletproof Wolf Encounter. So set the scene with me here. Tom and Ellen Gorman, along with Tom's dad and their two kids, are busy unpacking. Suddenly, from across the pasture, this massive, silvery gray wolf lopes toward them. And I mean massive. It's almost 3 times the size of a normal wolf. As it gets closer, they can literally smell the scent of rain on its pelt. It seems totally peaceful, almost zen-like, just gazing at them with these chilling, hypnotic light blue eyes. Tom's father even pets it. But then, out of nowhere, with lightning-fast speed, the beast lunges at the corral and locks its powerful jaws around the head of a 300-pound calf, trying to drag it right through the metal bars. Tom, who's an experienced rancher and a marksman, immediately springs into action. He kicks the beast, his dad is beating it with a baseball bat, but it just won't let go. So Tom calls for his heavy handgun. Now, the absolutely crucial point here is this number 4. Tom pumps 4 point-blank rounds from a powerful .357 Colt Magnum directly into the wolf's ribs and abdomen. Any single one of those shots should have been instantly lethal, right? But the wolf doesn't yelp, it doesn't even flinch, and impossibly, it doesn't shed a single drop of blood. It simply lets go of the calf, backs up a few feet, and just keeps staring at them with those piercing blue eyes. At this point, Tom upgrades to his heavy .30-06 elk hunting rifle. He takes aim from just 40 feet away and fires a thunderous shot directly into the animal's massive chest cavity. The bullet literally rips right through the beast. A sizable chunk of flesh actually tears off and hits the grass. But the beast makes zero sound. It just gives the stunned family one last unhurried look, turns around, and casually trots away across the wet grass. I mean, no way, right? Obviously, Tom and his son, Tad, aren't just going to let this go. They track the fleeing animal for a solid mile through thick Russian olive trees and thorny brambles. It's easy at first, following these massive paw prints in the wet ground. They track it all the way down to a muddy creek bank where the 200-pound animal's prints are sinking 2 full inches into the soft mud. And then the tracks just stop. They don't fade away, they abruptly end. It's as if this enormous physical beast had simply vanished into thin air. There's no blood, no logical explanation, just empty space.
Section 2. The Strange Gorman Homestead.
Let's zoom out to our second circle. To make any sense of this impossible event, we have to look at the jarring dissonance the Gormans had just walked into. On the outside, this property was completely idyllic. 480 acres of stunningly lush pasture in northeastern Utah, cottonwood trees, a beautiful bubbling creek. But inside that small ranch house, it was a literal fortress of paranoia. The previous owners had installed heavy deadbolts on both the inside and outside of every single door. The windows were heavily barred, and incredibly, there were these huge steel rings embedded in the walls inside the house, where the previous owners had actually chained large guard dogs at each end of the home. And it gets weirder. The previous owners had bought the property back in the 1950s, but were seemingly terrified of it by the end. They even included a highly unusual no-digging clause in the real estate contract before bolting to Salt Lake City, basically stipulating the Gormans could not dig on the land without giving them prior warning. The Gormans, who were just desperate for a peaceful refuge for their prize show cattle and eager to leave town politics behind, just brushed these red flags off as the quirks of eccentric retirees. Section 3. UFO Capital of the World. Okay, let's step back even further and zoom out to our third circle, the regional context. Because it turns out the Gorman Ranch wasn't just existing in a vacuum. The Uinta Basin is widely considered a heavyweight contender for the UFO capital of the world. Enter Junior Hicks, a meticulous local science teacher who essentially became the region's unofficial historian. Now, Hicks didn't just log every random light in the sky, he carefully filtered thousands of reports and compiled a database of over 400 highly credible, deeply investigated UFO cases spanning decades. The data Hicks gathered is just astounding. We're talking everyday, highly credible residents, bankers, lawyers, ranchers, reporting massive objects operating with total impunity. They cataloged crafts that were cigar-shaped, round, oval, and even massive dark triangles the size of literal football fields. One local Native American man even reported shooting his rifle at a metallic ship and hearing the bullet actually ping right off the hole. But what makes the basin so incredibly fascinating is that it's a hub for what researchers call high strangeness, meaning the phenomenon isn't limited to just one tidy category. Alongside the UFOs, the region has been plagued by gruesome surgical cattle mutilations since the 1960s. There are frequent sightings of Bigfoot-like creatures and even reports of silver crafts landing, with occupants in white overalls walking around. Hicks theorized that the whole area acts as a sort of psychological display or laboratory for whatever intelligence is operating out there.
Section 4. Dark Legacy of the Basin.
Let's move to our fourth circle and see how all of this builds upon centuries of layered, dark history.
The timeline of the Uinta Basin is deeply intertwined with the unexplained.
Way back in 1776, the very first Spanish explorers, the Escalante expedition, recorded a strange fireball streaking over their camp. By the 1860s, the U.S. government forced the Ute tribe into the basin to establish a reservation. Shortly after, in 1885, a rare, highly valuable hydrocarbon mineral called gilsonite was discovered there, which led to illegal mining and further conflict. This tension brought the U.S. military to the basin in 1886, specifically the famous 9th Cavalry Buffalo Soldiers. Interestingly, historical records note that many of them were active Freemasons, adding yet another fascinating layer of esoteric history to the exact spot where this high strangeness occurs. And what about the local Ute tribe? Well, they have known about this localized weirdness for a very long time. They have 15 generations of oral history explicitly warning their people to stay far away from the exact area of the Gorman property. They consider it cursed ground, stating quite literally that the ranch is in the path of the Skinwalker, which is a legendary entity believed to be pure evil, capable of shapeshifting into absolutely any animal. Section 5. Science confronts the paranormal. Finally, we reach our outermost circle. Because the story of Skinwalker Ranch doesn't just end as a piece of weird local folklore. In 1996, a heavily funded scientific organization called the National Institute for Discovery Science, or NIDS for short, acquired the property. They deployed a team of highly trained PhD scientists, biologists, physicists, and veterinarians to conduct an unprecedented 8-year study on the property, and they were armed to the teeth with state-of-the-art surveillance and monitoring instrumentation. But the scientists quickly ran into a massive brick wall. They found themselves dealing with an environment that actively broke the known laws of physics. The phenomena was incredibly evasive. Ultimately, the scientific team concluded they were interacting with a localized intelligence that actually appeared to control human perception, human thought, and human physical reality, almost as if on a whim. It entirely refused to be put in a box or play by our textbook laboratory rules. Dr. Colm Kelleher, a biochemist and a leading scientist on the NIDS team, summarized the incredible friction between rigid scientific methodology and the reality-bending nature of the ranch perfectly. He said, and I quote, "We were obliged to conduct science in a weird, shadowy netherworld where textbook science was but a quaint memory." And then there's investigative reporter George Knapp, who worked alongside the scientists to document the entire study. He took a huge professional risk to bring this data to the public because, let's face it, mainstream science and journalism rarely reward looking into the unexplained. But his takeaway, after reviewing the physical evidence, the mutilated cattle, and the physics-defying encounters, was profound. He stated, "I will never look at the world in the same way. As readers are about to learn, reality isn't what it used to be." So I'll leave you to ponder this as we wrap up today's explainer. When rigorous, well-funded science goes head-to-head with a bulletproof wolf, vanishing tracks, and over a century of localized physics-breaking anomalies, who actually wins? Is the universe simply a neat mechanical clock, or is reality really what it used to be? Think on that for a bit, and keep questioning everything.